The unexpected visitors, Captain Sarah Chen, floated in the observation deck of the research station Horizon, watching Jupiter's swirling storms through the reinforced glass. She had been stationed at the Outer System Monitoring Post for 2 years, tracking asteroid movements and deep space anomalies. It was quiet work, peaceful even. Most days nothing happened except the occasional supply ship from Mars or a mining vessel heading to the belt. Sarah was 34 years old with short black hair and sharp brown eyes that missed nothing. She had served on merchant ships before, taking this assignment, but she had never seen anything like what appeared on her sensors that morning. The detection grid started beeping frantically, showing massive energy signatures appearing near Jupiter's largest moon. Racing to the control room, Sarah found her small crew already at their stations. Lieutenant Mike Harrison, her second-in-command, was staring at his display with his mouth open. Mike was a young officer fresh from the academy, eager and smart, but lacking experience with anything unusual. "Captain, you need to see this," Mike said, his voice tight with excitement and fear. 47 objects just appeared out of nowhere. They're huge, bigger than anything we've ever built. Sarah looked at the tactical display and felt her heart skip. The objects were arranged in perfect formation, each one over 3 kilometers long. They had the sleek, organic curves of advanced technology. Nothing like the blocky utilitarian ships humans built. Purple energy patterns flowed across their hulls like living circuit boards. "Have they responded to our hail?" Sarah asked, trying to keep her voice steady. "No response to standard frequencies," replied Communications Officer Jenny Walsh. Jenny was a quiet woman in her 20s with red hair and freckles, known for her ability to decode even the most garbled transmissions. "But Captain, they're broadcasting something. It's not directed at us, seems like they're talking to each other." Before Sarah could respond, every screen in the station lit up with an incoming transmission. The alien who appeared was tall and elegant, with pale blue skin and silver hair. That seemed to move on its own. Its eyes were completely black, like pools of space itself. It wore flowing robes covered in symbols that glowed with soft light. "Greetings, primitive inhabitants of this system," the alien said in perfect English, though its voice carried strange harmonics that made Sarah's teeth ache. "I am Ambassador Drex of the Terran Dominion. We have come to inform you of your new status within our empire." Sarah stepped forward, her military training taking over despite her shock. "This is Captain Sarah Chen of Earth Defense Station Horizon. By what authority do you claim our system?" Ambassador Drex tilted its head, as if surprised by the question. "By the authority of conquest, naturally. The Terran Dominion has ruled this galaxy for over 2,000 years. We have incorporated 15,000 worlds into our empire. Your small system will be added to our territory, and your species will serve according to your capabilities." The alien gestured, and the screen filled with images of conquered worlds. Sarah saw cities that stretched across entire continents, filled with different alien species all working under the watchful eyes of Dominion overseers. Some beings looked like walking crystals, others resembled giant insects, and still others were shapes Sarah couldn't even comprehend. All of them wore the same expression of defeated resignation. "Your evaluation has been completed," Drex continued. "Humans show adequate intelligence and physical capabilities. You will provide workers for our mining operations and soldiers for our frontier wars. Your leaders will be replaced with Dominion administrators who understand proper governance." Sarah felt anger rising in her chest. "And if we refuse?" "Refusal is not an option that leads to pleasant outcomes," Drex replied with what might have been a smile. "However, resistance is common among newly discovered species. We have standard procedures for such situations. Your cities will be leveled, your population reduced to manageable numbers, and the survivors will be relocated to work camps where they can be properly educated about their role in the Dominion." The transmission ended abruptly, leaving the control room in stunned silence. Sarah looked at her crew and saw fear, anger, and determination warring in their faces. Mike was gripping his console so hard his knuckles were white. Jenny was already working to establish emergency communications with Earth. "Get me President Rivera," Sarah ordered. "Priority Alpha authorization." Minutes later, President Marcus Rivera's face appeared on the main screen. He was a man in his 50s with graying hair and sharp blue eyes that had seen too much of war and politics. Before becoming president, Marcus had been a military strategist who helped win the Mars Independence War. He was known for his calm demeanor and his ability to make hard decisions under pressure. "Captain Chen, I've been monitoring your situation," President Rivera said. "The alien fleet appeared on our long-range sensors 20 minutes ago. What's their status?" Sarah quickly briefed the president on Ambassador Drex's ultimatum. As she spoke, she watched Rivera's expression harden. Behind him, she could see other officials gathering in what looked like the emergency command center beneath the White House. "Mr. President," Sarah said when she finished, "they claim to have conquered 15,000 worlds. Their technology is clearly far beyond ours. What are your orders?" President Rivera was quiet for a long moment, staring at something beyond the camera. When he spoke, his voice was calm but filled with steel. "Captain, please transmit the following message to the alien fleet on all frequencies." Sarah nodded to Jenny, who began recording. President Rivera stood up, straightening his jacket, and looked directly into the camera. To Ambassador Drex and "The Terran Dominion," he began. "I am Marcus Rivera, President of the United Earth Federation and representative of all human colonies. I have received your ultimatum, and I have an answer for you." He paused, letting the weight of his words sink. "And our answer is no. Earth and all human territory are hereby declared off-limits to your empire. We do not recognize your authority, we will not submit to your rule, and we will not join your collection of conquered worlds. Furthermore, effective immediately, Earth's borders are closed to all vessels of the Terran Dominion. Any attempt to enter our space will be considered an act of war." The president leaned forward, his eyes burning with intensity. "You may have conquered 15,000 worlds, Ambassador, but you have not conquered Earth. You may have superior technology and larger fleets, but you do not understand what you're dealing with. Humanity has never bowed to tyrants, and we will not start now. I suggest you turn your ships around and find easier prey elsewhere." The transmission ended and Sarah found herself holding her breath. She had just witnessed her species declare war on a galactic empire. It should have felt like suicide, but instead, she felt proud. The alien response came within minutes. Ambassador Drex appeared on screen again, but this time its calm demeanor was cracked. Sarah could see surprise and something that might have been respect in its black eyes. "President Rivera," Drex said, "your defiance is unexpected. Most species accept integration peacefully once they understand the futility of resistance. You are either very brave or very foolish." "Probably both," Rivera replied without hesitation. "But that's never stopped us before." "You should understand the consequences of your decision," Drex continued. "The Dominion has never failed to incorporate a species that we have targeted. Your weapons are primitive, your defenses are weak, and your ships are few. We could destroy your entire civilization in a matter of days." "Then why haven't you started?" Rivera asked quietly. For the first time, the alien ambassador seemed uncertain. "There are protocols to follow. The Dominion prefers peaceful integration when possible. You will be given time to reconsider your position. 7 of your days to think about the future of your species." "We don't need 7 days," Rivera replied immediately. "Our answer will be the same in 7 days, 7 weeks, or 7 years. Earth stands free." As the alien transmission ended, Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. Earth had just thrown down the gauntlet to an empire that had conquered thousands of worlds. But as she looked at her crew, she saw something she had never seen before in their faces. It wasn't just determination or courage. It was something uniquely human, something that had driven her species to climb out of caves and reach for the stars. It was the absolute refusal to kneel. Within hours, every human ship in the solar system was racing toward Earth. Mining vessels from the asteroid belt, research stations from the outer planets, and colony ships from Mars all received the same message: "Come home. Humanity stands together." Dr. Elena Vasquez sat in her laboratory on Luna Base, surrounded by half-finished experiments and prototype weapons that weren't supposed to exist. She was a small woman with wild gray hair and intense green eyes behind thick glasses. For the past 5 years, she had been working on theoretical weapons systems that the Earth Defense Council claimed were too dangerous to build. Now they wanted everything she had. "Elena," came Admiral Thomas Blake's voice over the communicator. "I need to know what you've got that can hurt these aliens." Admiral Blake was a career military officer, a tall man with white hair and scars on his hands from the asteroid pirates' war. He had been asking Elena about her secret projects for years, and she had always told him they weren't ready. "Tom," she replied, looking at her cluttered workbench. "Remember the quantum displacement theory I presented 3 years ago? The one the Council said was too unstable to weaponize? The one that could theoretically tear holes in space-time?" Blake asked. "Elena, please tell me you didn't actually build one." Dr. Vasquez smiled for the first time in days. "I built 12. Across the solar system, humanity was mobilizing in ways it had never done before. Every factory that could be converted to military production was retooled. Ships that had never mounted weapons were being armed with anything available. Scientists were pulling projects out of storage that had been deemed too experimental or too dangerous. But most importantly, something was happening that the Terran Dominion had never encountered in their 2,000 years of conquest. The species they had targeted wasn't panicking, wasn't arguing among themselves, and wasn't trying to negotiate for better terms of surrender. Instead, humanity was getting angry. Captain Sarah Chen stood at her station's observation deck watching as human ships from across the solar system streamed past Jupiter toward Earth. Each ship carried people who had chosen to come home rather than flee to deep space. They were choosing to stand with Earth, even though it might mean their death. She watched. Sarah made a silent promise to Ambassador Drex and the Terran Dominion. They had conquered 15,000 worlds, but they had never faced anything like humanity. They were about to learn why humans had spent their entire history fighting impossible odds and winning. Earth's borders were closed, and they were about to discover what happened when humans felt cornered. The stand that shook the galaxy 7 days had passed since Earth declared its borders closed to the Terran Dominion. The alien fleet had grown larger, with ships arriving daily through their hyperspace gates. What had started as 47 vessels had become over 200 massive warships surrounding Earth's solar system like a tightening noose. Commander Alex Torres stood in the command center of Fortress Alpha, humanity's most advanced military station positioned between Earth and Mars. Alex was a stocky man in his 40s with calloused hands and gray streaks in his black hair. He had spent 20 years fighting pirates and rebels in the outer colonies, but nothing had prepared him for this. "Status report," he called to his team, trying to project confidence he didn't entirely feel. Lieutenant Colonel Maria Santos looked up from her tactical display. Maria was one of Earth's best pilots, a woman with short brown hair and quick reflexes who could fly anything with engines. She had been chosen to command the experimental fighter squadrons that Dr. Vasquez had helped design. "All defensive positions are manned," Maria reported. "The quantum displacement mines are deployed throughout the system. Dr. Vasquez's new fighter designs are ready for combat testing." She paused, glancing at the main display showing the alien fleet. "Sir, there are now 237 enemy vessels. Each one outguns our entire Earth defense fleet." Alex nodded grimly. The numbers were staggering, but humans had never won fights because they had better odds. They won because they refused to lose. On the other side of the solar system, engineer Lisa Park was making final adjustments to humanity's secret weapon. Lisa was a brilliant woman in her 30s with curly red hair and grease-stained coveralls. She had spent the last 7 days working without sleep, turning a theoretical physics experiment into Earth's last hope. "The quantum resonance field is stable," she reported to Dr. Vasquez over the communicator. "But Elena, I have to ask again. Are you sure this will work?" Dr. Vasquez, monitoring from her command post on Luna Base, looked at the readings streaming across her screens. "Lisa, I'm sure it will do something. Whether that something saves us or destroys us all remains to be seen." The massive device Lisa had built was hidden inside a hollowed-out asteroid. It looked like a cross between a particle accelerator and a dimensional gateway, covered in crystalline structures that hummed with barely contained energy. According to the theory, It could create a resonance field that would disrupt any technology not specifically shielded against quantum interference. The problem was that no one had ever built shields against quantum interference, because no one had ever been crazy enough to weaponize quantum mechanics on this scale. Ambassador Drex's ultimatum expired at exactly noon, Earth Standard Time. The alien fleet began moving toward Earth in perfect formation, their purple energy fields pulsing with anticipation. General Kala, the Dominion's military commander, was confident this would be another routine conquest. General Kala was a warrior from the Zephyrian species, tall and insectoid with 4 arms and compound eyes that could track multiple targets simultaneously. She had personally overseen the conquest of 300 worlds over her career. In her experience, primitive species always folded quickly once they saw the futility of resistance. "Begin standard suppression pattern," she ordered, her fleet. "Target their military installations first, then their population centers. We want survivors for the work camps, but they need to understand the price of defiance." The first wave of alien ships entered the outer solar system, expecting to face desperate, primitive resistance. Instead, they encountered something that shouldn't have been possible. Space around them suddenly erupted in brilliant explosions as Dr. Vasquez's quantum displacement mines activated. These weren't normal explosives. They were tears in reality itself, creating pockets where the laws of physics didn't work properly. Several alien ships simply vanished, not destroyed, but displaced to locations that didn't exist. "What was that?" General Kala demanded, her compound eyes reflecting confusion and the first hint of concern. Before her tactical officers could answer, Commander Torres launched humanity's second surprise. The human fighter squadrons weren't attacking the alien ships directly. Instead, they were deploying what looked like metallic dust clouds throughout the battlefield. Maria Santos led her squadron through a complex pattern, releasing thousands of tiny devices that looked harmless but carried a devastating payload. Each device was no bigger than a grain of sand, but they were equipped with microfusion charges designed by Earth's most creative weapons engineers. "Deployment complete," Maria reported. "All squadrons clear the engagement zone." The alien fleet continued its advance, confident that such tiny objects posed no threat. Their shields could stop asteroids. What could microscopic particles do? They were about to find out. Lisa Park activated the quantum resonance device. The hidden weapon came online with a sound like reality being torn apart, sending waves of energy that couldn't be seen but could be felt by every living thing in the solar system. The quantum field swept outward at the speed of light, passing through the alien fleet like an invisible tsunami. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. The alien ships continued their advance, their weapons charging for the final assault on Earth. Then the microfusion charges began to detonate. The tiny particles that Maria's squadrons had deployed weren't just explosives. They were quantum-triggered devices that activated only when exposed to the resonance field. Suddenly, every alien ship found itself surrounded by thousands of microscopic, nuclear explosions. Their shields, designed to stop large impacts and energy beams, were useless against attacks that originated from inside the shield perimeter. The explosions were tiny individually, but there were millions of them, and they were happening throughout the alien fleet simultaneously. General Kala watched in horror as her perfect formation began to break apart. Ships that had never taken damage in centuries of warfare were suddenly reporting system failures, hull breaches, and complete power losses. This was impossible. Primitive species didn't have weapons like this. "All ships, emergency retreat to minimum safe distance," she ordered, her confidence shattered for the first time in her military career. But the humans weren't finished. As the alien fleet pulled back in confusion, Captain Sarah Chen activated the third phase of Earth's defense. Every human ship in the solar system, from massive battle cruisers to tiny mining vessels, suddenly dropped their stealth fields and appeared throughout the system. They had been hiding in the quantum interference zones created by Dr. Vasquez's mines, invisible to alien sensors. Now they emerged like a swarm of angry insects, surrounding the confused alien fleet from all directions. "This is Captain Chen to all human vessels," Sarah broadcast on the general frequency. "Remember, we're not trying to destroy them all. "We're trying to send a message." The human ships opened fire, but not with conventional weapons. Instead, they launched millions of communication drones, each one broadcasting the same message in every language the Dominion had used to communicate with conquered species. To all beings serving the Terran Dominion, the message began, "You are witnessing something that your masters claimed was impossible. A primitive species has just defeated a Dominion fleet. If humans can stand up to the Empire, so can you. Freedom is possible. Resistance works. The Dominion is not invincible." The message was being transmitted across the galaxy, carried by the Dominion's own communication network. Every conquered world, every enslaved species, every being who had given up hope was hearing the same incredible news. Earth had made the mighty Terran Dominion retreat. General Kayla realized what the humans had done and felt something she had never experienced before. Fear. Not fear for her life, but fear for the Empire itself. In 2,000 years of conquest, no species had ever made the Dominion look weak. Now, across the galaxy, billions of enslaved beings were learning that their masters could be defeated. "Sir," her communications officer reported, "we're receiving distress signals from 12 different sectors. Rebellion is breaking out on conquered worlds throughout the Empire. They're using the same tactics the humans just demonstrated." Ambassador Drex appeared on General Kala's command screen, his usual composure completely gone. "General, you must silence these humans immediately. If their message continues to spread, it could destabilize the entire Dominion." "With what?" Kayla replied bitterly. "Half my fleet is disabled, and the other half doesn't know how to fight an enemy that breaks every rule of warfare. These humans don't fight like any species we've encountered." President Rivera's face appeared on screens throughout the alien fleet, carried by the same communication drones that were spreading the rebellion message. Behind him stood representatives from every human colony, united in defiance. "General Kala, Ambassador Drex," Rivera said calmly, "I believe we have something to discuss. Your fleet is disabled, your empire is in chaos, and my people are ready to demonstrate even more creative applications of human engineering. Perhaps it's time to negotiate." For the first time in Dominion history, an alien general was forced to accept a communication from a species they had come to conquer. 6 months later, the galaxy was a very different place. The rebellion that started with Earth's defiance had spread to hundreds of worlds. The Terran Dominion found itself fighting defensive wars on multiple fronts against species who had learned that resistance was possible. Captain Sarah Chen stood in the observation deck of the New Earth Embassy on Kepler Station, a neutral zone where former Dominion slaves and human advisors worked together to coordinate the galactic resistance movement. Through the massive windows, she could see ships from dozens of different species arriving daily, all seeking to learn human tactics and technology. "It's remarkable," said Dr. Vasquez, joining Sarah at the window. "We never set out to start a galactic revolution. We just refused to kneel." Sarah nodded, watching as a group of crystalline beings worked alongside insectoid engineers to modify a captured Dominion ship. "Elena, do you think we'll win? Against the entire Dominion Empire?" Dr. Vasquez smiled, the same wild grin she had worn when building impossible weapons in her laboratory. "Sarah, we've already won. The Dominion ruled through fear and the belief that resistance was futile. We proved that was a lie. Every world that stands up to them now is a victory." In the distance, Earth hung like a blue marble against the stars, no longer an isolated world, but the symbol of hope for an entire galaxy. Humanity had closed its borders to an empire, and in doing so, had opened the door to freedom for countless others. The Terran Dominion still existed, but it would never, again, be the unchallenged ruler of the galaxy. They had encountered something they couldn't conquer, couldn't intimidate, and couldn't understand: the absolute human refusal to accept tyranny. And across the galaxy, on worlds they had never heard of, beings who had forgotten the word freedom were learning to say it again, inspired by a small blue planet that had dared to tell an empire, no. Earth's borders had remained closed to the Dominion, but they were wide open to anyone seeking liberty. And that, perhaps, was the most human thing of all.